Oh, McQueen. Crazy McQueen.
In the pantheon of American entertainment, James Garner carved an extraordinary niche as the quintessential everyman hero, a performer whose effortless charm and natural authenticity made him beloved across generations. From his breakout role as the roguish gambler Brett Maverick to his later triumph as the world-weary private investigator Jim Rockford, Garner possessed that rare ability to make complex characters feel like trusted friends. His Oklahoma roots and genuine humility translated into performances that never felt forced or artificial, creating a screen persona built on relatability rather than manufactured glamour. Yet beneath this affable exterior lay a man with uncompromising professional standards and little patience for the theatrical excesses that often defined Hollywood stardom.
McQueen and I got along pretty good, and McQueen looked at me kind of like an older brother. And he didn't want to have much to do with me till he got in trouble, then he'd call.
Garner's straightforward approach to his craft, honed through years of hard work and military service, frequently collided with colleagues who embraced more flamboyant or self-aggrandizing methods. These weren't petty disputes born from jealousy or competition, but fundamental disagreements about the nature of authentic performance and professional conduct.
I don't want to work for those people anymore, and they made a mistake, breached my contract, and so I called them on it and got out of the contract.
The tensions we examine today reveal how Garner's commitment to honest storytelling and collaborative respect sometimes put him at odds with fellow actors whose approaches he viewed as pretentious, manufactured, or disrespectful to the craft itself. These behind-the-scenes conflicts illuminate the character of a man who valued substance over spectacle, integrity over image, and genuine talent over industry politics. 6. George Peppard. George Peppard's relentless pursuit of dramatic legitimacy created an inevitable friction with James Garner's pragmatic approach to television stardom during the golden age of action-adventure series. The classically trained actor, forever seeking to distance himself from his commercial success on The A-Team, viewed television work as a necessary evil rather than a respectable craft, an attitude that directly conflicted with Garner's pride in his medium and professionalism. The philosophical divide became apparent during industry events, where both actors found themselves competing for similar roles in prestigious television movies. According to sources within The Hollywood Reporter, Peppard allegedly expressed disdain for what he perceived as Garner's contentment with series work, believing that true artists should aspire to more elevated material. Sound engineer Robert Martinez recalled, "George had very strong opinions about television versus film hierarchy, and he wasn't shy about expressing his belief that serious actors should be pursuing theatrical releases." The tension intensified when Peppard publicly questioned the artistic merit of long-running television series, comments that industry insiders interpreted as veiled criticism of Garner's commitment to the Rockford Files. Production manager Linda Stevens observed, "George seemed to view Jim's success in television as settling for less, while Jim saw it as honest work that entertained millions of people." The professional relationship reached its lowest point when Peppard made remarks about actors who played it safe with comfortable television roles instead of challenging themselves with demanding dramatic material. Garner later reflected, "Some folks think looking down on honest work makes them look more important. I'd rather entertain people than impress critics." This statement encapsulated his belief that authentic performance transcended the medium's perceived prestige. 5. Tony Curtis. Tony Curtis's transformation from Bronx Street Kid to Hollywood leading man created an unexpected source of professional tension with James Garner during their overlapping careers in Western productions. The former Bernard Schwartz, despite his undeniable screen charisma and box office appeal, represented everything Garner found inauthentic about Hollywood's manufactured cowboy personas, particularly when Curtis ventured into Western territory that Garner considered sacred ground. The friction first surfaced during the 1960s when both actors were being considered for similar frontier roles that required authentic regional credibility. According to sources within Variety, Garner allegedly questioned Curtis's ability to convincingly portray Western characters, feeling that the actor's urban background and polished delivery style fundamentally undermined the rugged authenticity these roles demanded. Dialect coach Patricia Romano recalled, Jim had very specific ideas about what made a believable cowboy, and Tony's approach seemed too studied, too conscious of the camera. The philosophical disagreement became more pronounced when Curtis publicly discussed his preparation methods for Western roles, emphasizing technique over lived experience. Costume designer Frank Miller observed, Tony approached these characters like he was assembling a performance from the outside in, while Jim believed you had to carry that life in your bones. The professional relationship reached its most strained point when Curtis made comments about the craft of acting that Garner interpreted as dismissive of natural authenticity. He later stated, "You can't fake knowing horses and dust and hard weather. Some things you either understand or you don't." This declaration highlighted Garner's belief that genuine Western heritage couldn't be manufactured through acting classes or costume fittings. 4. Rock Hudson. Rock Hudson's carefully constructed studio system persona created a fundamental clash with James Garner's commitment to unvarnished authenticity during Hollywood's transition from manufactured stardom to naturalistic performance. The towering leading man, despite his undeniable screen presence and romantic appeal, embodied everything Garner found artificial about the old Hollywood machine that prioritized image over genuine talent and calculated charm over honest emotion. The creative discord emerged during the late 1950s when both actors were competing for similar romantic leading roles that required balancing masculine appeal with emotional vulnerability. According to sources within Film Comment, Garner allegedly expressed frustration with Hudson's reliance on studio-manufactured mystique, feeling that the actors' performances lacked the spontaneous humanity that made characters truly compelling. Cinematographer William Daniels recalled, "Rock had this polished perfection that looked great on camera, but Jim believed audiences could sense when something was too rehearsed, too controlled." The philosophical divide became apparent when Hudson's carefully managed public persona contrasted sharply with Garner's preference for straightforward honesty in both his performances and personal conduct. Director George Stevens observed, "Rock represented the old system, where everything was managed and calculated, while Jim was part of a new generation that valued authenticity over artifice." The professional tension reached its peak when Hudson made statements about the importance of maintaining professional mystique, comments that Garner interpreted as dismissive of genuine emotional connection with audiences. He later reflected, "People want to see real human beings up there, not perfect pictures. When you're too worried about looking good, you forget about being good." This philosophy highlighted Garner's belief that authentic performance required vulnerability rather than manufactured perfection. 3rd, Bert Reynolds. Bert Reynolds' swaggering machismo and self-conscious masculine posturing created an inevitable collision with James Garner's understated confidence and natural authority during the height of both actors' careers in action comedy productions. The mustached heartthrob, despite his box office dominance and undeniable charisma, represented a brand of manufactured toughness that Garner found both inauthentic and unnecessary in an industry where genuine presence should speak louder than theatrical bravado. The friction first became apparent during the 1970s when both actors were being considered for similar action hero roles that required balancing physical credibility with comedic timing. According to sources within Entertainment Weekly, Garner allegedly questioned Reynolds' need to constantly project an image of hypermasculinity, feeling that real strength came from quiet confidence rather than performative swagger. Stunt coordinator Hal Needham recalled, "Bert was always on, always performing this larger-than-life persona, while Jim just showed up and did the work without all the extra theatrics." The philosophical disagreement intensified when Reynolds publicly discussed his approach to masculine characters, emphasizing image and attitude over substance and authenticity. Production designer Joe Alves observed, "Bert seemed to believe that being a leading man meant constantly proving your masculinity, while Jim thought real men didn't need to prove anything to anybody." The professional relationship reached its most contentious point when Reynolds made comments about the importance of maintaining a tough guy image both on and off screen. Garner later stated, "Real cowboys don't spend time telling everyone they're cowboys. If you have to work that hard to convince people you're tough, maybe you're not as tough as you think. This declaration encapsulated his belief that authentic masculinity was demonstrated through actions rather than attitude. 2. William Shatner. William Shatner's commanding theatrical presence and scene-stealing tendencies created an inevitable clash with James Garner's collaborative approach and professional humility during their overlapping television careers. The future Captain Kirk, despite his undeniable screen magnetism and vocal power, embodied a style of performance that Garner found both self-indulgent and disrespectful to the ensemble nature of quality television production. The tension first emerged during the 1960s when both actors were establishing themselves as television leading men in competing Western and dramatic series. According to sources within TV Guide, Garner allegedly grew frustrated with Shatner's tendency to dominate scenes through sheer force of personality rather than serving the story's needs. Script supervisor Helen Morrison recalled, "Bill had this way of making every moment about his character, even when the scene called for ensemble work, while Jim always looked for ways to elevate his co-stars." The philosophical divide became more pronounced when Shatner's operatic delivery style contrasted sharply with Garner's naturalistic approach to dialogue and character development. Director Ralph Nelson observed, "Bill treated every line like it was Shakespeare, while Jim understood that television required a more intimate, conversational tone that respected the audience's intelligence." The professional friction reached its peak when Shatner made public statements about the importance of commanding presence in television performance. Comments that Garner interpreted as dismissive of collaborative storytelling. He later reflected, "Good actors make everyone around them better. When you're too busy trying to be the star, you forget you're supposed to be telling a story together." This philosophy highlighted Garner's belief that authentic leadership came through service rather than dominance. 1. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando's revolutionary method acting approach and psychological intensity created a fundamental philosophical collision with James Garner's straightforward, honest performance style during Hollywood's artistic transformation of the 1950s and 1960s. The legendary actor, despite his undeniable talent and cultural influence, represented everything Garner found pretentious about the theatrical movement that prioritized internal exploration over clear, truthful storytelling. The creative discord emerged when both actors were being considered for similar dramatic roles that required balancing emotional depth with accessible characterization. According to sources within the New York Times, Garner allegedly expressed frustration with Brando's elaborate preparation rituals and tendency to disappear completely into characters, feeling that such extreme methods served the actor's ego more than the story's needs. Acting coach Stella Adler recalled, "Marlon brought incredible psychological complexity to his work, but Jim believed that all that internal wrestling should remain invisible to the audience." The philosophical divide became apparent when Brando's mumbling delivery and unpredictable behavior contrasted sharply with Garner's commitment to clear communication and professional reliability. Director Elia Kazan observed, "Marlon was always searching for some deeper truth beneath the surface, while Jim understood that sometimes the surface was exactly where the truth lived." These professional conflicts reveal Garner's unwavering commitment to authentic storytelling over manufactured personas. His standards illuminated the difference between genuine craft and theatrical self-indulgence, defending honest performance against Hollywood artifice. Subscribe for more entertainment industry revelations.